Hello, my name is Jennifer DeKay, and I'm the publisher of the Downey Patriot newspaper. Welcome to the 2020 Downey City Council Candidates Forum. In previous years, the Downey Patriot, in association with the Downey Chamber of Commerce, has presented the Downey City Council Forum streamed live and in person. We have made adjustments this year due to COVID-19 and are happy to present a virtual forum so voters still have the opportunity to hear from their candidates. We invite you to use the chat feature in Zoom to ask questions. They will be seen by the moderator and asked at his discretion. Comments that are directed to candidates will be removed from the feed by the forum tech staff. Tonight, we will be hearing opening statements from all the candidates, then focus on questions by district. To accommodate the overwhelming amount of questions provided by the community to specific candidates, we are allowing for some time to ask these questions as well. At the duration of the evening, each candidate will be able to provide a closing statement. At this time, I would like to introduce my co-host, Michael Calvert, Executive Director of the Downey Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good evening, everyone. Hi, my name is Michael Calvert, and I'd like to take the opportunity, much like the accountants at the Academy Awards, I get to do a little disclosure. But I need to remind everyone that this is a nonpartisan race. This is a city election, and while national politics are important, we are not going to be discussing political party alliances during this forum. Moderating tonight's City Council Forum, and I'm very honored to introduce him, is recently retired TV reporter Dave Lopez. Dave has been a fixture on Channel 2 and Channel 9 News for the past 4 decades. He has won multiple Emmys and Golden Mikes Awards, and he is the recipient of the Los Angeles Press Club prestigious Joseph Quinn Award for Lifetime Achievement. Dave has covered major news stories in Southern California, for the 1992 Los Angeles riots, to the Night Stalker, political corruption, political races, and the list goes on. We're very thankful to have Dave here, and he's agreed to moderate tonight's event. And it's my privilege to welcome Dave Lopez. Thank you, Mike.
Hello, everybody, and thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. I lived in Downey for a number of years, never ran for political office. I think my closet would be overwhelmed with all the things that would be brought up in an election. So let's all relax. Remember the rules. I'm going to give you what some of the rules are tonight. We will get to questions from the audience. We're not going to be able to get to all of them. And again, please do not, the candidates do not try to circumvent that by answering questions on the slide without, okay, we like to follow that as well. So this is what we're going to be doing. The rules are as follows. Candidates will answer in a 90-second limit. So you have 90 seconds to answer the questions. Rebuttals will be limited to 30 seconds. A timer will be displayed on the Zoom screen indicating the time that you have remaining. Please, don't go 3-4 minutes. I mean, I'm not going to be a stickler if you go a couple seconds over, but if you really start to get long-winded, then I'll definitely, like the old gong show, we'll put the gong on you, okay? The forum will be conducted by the district. In other words, candidates in one district will not interact with candidates of another district. Okay, so keep that in mind. So if you're running in District 1, you won't be able to say anything to the candidate in District 3 and vice versa. So the candidates stick to your own districts. Forum organizers reserve the right to mute candidates who go past their allotted time or who engage in abusive or profane dialogue. The moderator has sole discretion as to which questions are asked to whom and in which order. Questions from the public were solicited before and will be solicited during the forum, and questions will be asked at the direction of me, moderator. Comments that are directed to candidates will be removed from the feed by the forum organizers. Okay, so with that, let's get started. The first question, the first opportunity is opening statements from District 1 candidate, and we will begin again, 90 seconds. Alexandria Contreras, the floor is yours.
Hi, Downey. My name is Alexandria Contreras, and I'm running for Downey District 1. I grew up here in the city of Downey because my parents moved here to seek better opportunities for the future family. But I grew up in a neighborhood that has been neglected by past and current leadership. My neighborhood doesn't have a lot of other amenities that Downey is known for. And as I grew up in the neighborhood, I witnessed as the opportunities that my parents moved here for slowly slipped away for people like myself. From a working class household with immigrant roots, I saw as city leadership neglected those who make Downey strong. Us, the working class, the working families here. So after living here and growing up here, I decided to run for Downey District 1 because I know that we need representation like myself to help build a happier city for all of us. Thank you so much, and I look forward to earning your vote this November.
All right, thank you. From District 1, the incumbent and the current mayor, Mayor Blanca Pacheco. Floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Blanca Pacheco, Downey Mayor and local attorney. Thank you, Dave Lopez, for being our moderator. And thank you, Downey Chamber of Commerce and Downey Patriot for hosting this event. And to the Downey residents, thank you for being engaged. I am a product of Downey Unified School District, graduating from Downey High School. Downey has always been my home. I live here, I work here, I am engaged here. Through my involvement with Kiwanis Club of Downey and the Downey Elks Lodge. This year has been an unprecedented year. As Downey Mayor, I have stepped up and led our city through a pandemic. Under my leadership, I made sure our seniors and those families with food insecurities were fed. We also provided resources to those affected by COVID. This year has been a busy year, from remodeling of our fire stations, Downey Theater, Downey Library, and our local parks. These are only some of the things I've accomplished as mayor and as your council member in District 1 during the past 4 years. I want to continue to serve you, our Downey residents, for another 4 years. So I hope you vote for me, Blanca Pacheco, Downey City Council, District 1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we move to District 3. Candidate Catherine Alvarez, your opening statement.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Catherine. I know a lot of people doesn't speak English, so I'm going to speak a little bit of Spanish as well. Muy buenas tardes a todos. Sé que algunos residentes de Downey también están mirando el fórum ahora en este momento y me presento que yo soy Catherine Álvarez y estoy corriendo para el Distrito 3. So as well, I'm running for City Council and thank you everybody that who's there here right now. First of all, well, basically, I wasn't here in Downey since my kids were little. They went through middle school, beginning of schools into junior high, and then after high school. So I know a lot of problems that is going on right now in Downey. Me, myself, I know what is going on with the disabled, veterans, and with homelessness as well. So that is why I'm running, and that is why I'm pushing myself to be the candidate to be sitting down in that seat in District 3. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Also from District 3, Dale Juan Peavy. Mr. Peavy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. My name is Dale Juan Peavy. I'm running for City Council of Downey, District 3. I am 24 years old. I have lived in Downey all of my life. I am also a product of Downey High. I'm also a product of the city of Downey. I graduated from Downey High in 2014, and most recently, I just earned my degree in Administration of Justice from Long Beach College. I'm running for City Council because the city of Downey is great, but I want to get involved in the city and improve the communities in many ways. I feel like that there are a few things that are being left out, and I'm asking for your vote because I want to make sure that the future is in great hands because we are the future of the world. Thank you.
All right. Also from District 3, the third candidate, Mr. Eric Pierce. Eric.
Hello. I came to Downey about 20 years ago when I was hired by the Downey Patriot newspaper, and I never left. Living in Downey is like being part of a special club. It's a community that people aspire to live in, and we need to make sure it stays that way. I'm proud to be endorsed by 4 city council members, including the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Councilman Rick Rodriguez, the current representative for Downey District 3. I'm also endorsed by 6 Downey school board members. As president of Gangs of Downey, I've worked hard to keep Downey a safe, gang-free community. And as president of Downey Kiwanis, I've helped raise thousands of dollars towards college scholarships for students at Downey, Warren, and Columbus High Schools. As your next Downey council member, I promise to continue to advocate for our city, to protect our values, and to continue pushing Downey forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We'll now move to District 5, and I commend all of you so far. You are doing very well in the 90-second rule. So congratulations and keep it up. From District 5, candidate Arturo Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez. Is he here? I'm sorry? Oh, can you unmute, please?
Can you hear me?
There we go. Okay, Mr. Gonzalez, go ahead.
Thank you, Dave Lopez.
No, we can hear you fine. Go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank all of Downey for being here tonight, the businesses as well as residents, my friends, my neighbors in support. This is not my first time running. I ran in 2016. Some of you know me as Art Gonzalez. You may see me on the ballot also as Art Gonzalez. Okay. In 2016, I ran against one of the incumbents from District 5. I was the only one there, and yet at the end, I ended up with 3,998 votes, which from that group, I'm able to grow. I have my grassroots, and not just that, but I have a good ear, and I listen to what the people are saying in the residents of Downey, as well as my neighbors, my friends around me. And one of the things that I want to, other than the maintaining safety and our way of life, in order to enrich it, I also want to bring something such as quality assurance review committee, so that we can have a better transparency in businesses here in Downey. I thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. District 5 candidate Mario Trujillo.
Hello, Downey. I'm Mario Trujillo. Thank you to the Downey Patriot and the Chamber for this opportunity to address you. 30 years ago, I moved to Downey, taught elementary school for 6 years, and went to law school at night. For the past 24 years, I have served you, the taxpayers, as a deputy district attorney, working closely with law enforcement, prosecuting some of the most difficult child abuse. Candidates who have been involved in Downey. But what sets me apart is my 30 years of dedicated service in education and law enforcement. It is this type of experience, dedication, and passion that make me the best candidate to keep our Downey family safe and healthy, our communities protected, and our small businesses supported. I humbly ask for your support. Please vote for me, Mario Trujillo. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Trujillo. Also from District 5, Mr. Juan Joey Martinez. The floor is yours.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Juan Martinez. Some of you may know me as Joey from the city of Downey. I am very vocal in our city council. And just a little bit about me. I have lived over here for over a decade. I founded a social media platform that hosts weekly events for over 900 members. I am an ally of the Downey Tenants Union here in the city of Downey that are looking out for tenants and homeowners' best interests. I am an ally to the Downey Resistance Youth Group right here that sees a lot of issues and problems with their school system and with the judicial system all around them. I am an activist who has fought against sexism and misogyny by calling for the resignation of John Askewy, who is on video instigating assaults. I have fought against water privatization, which our current elected members of the city council have adamantly supported and fought against the public. I am a college student. I am a working class citizen. I am an experienced member of the public safety realm as an armed and unarmed security guard. And many of the issues that I want to bring up tonight will relate a bunch to the neglect and the corruption that has taken place in our city. Finally, I want to bring attention that this is a jab to the hosting of this meeting, not bringing up where candidates stand on a national level and who they're supporting is actually to protect Trump supporters that are currently on the ballot. So with that said, I am a candidate that is transparent. I am not taking any money from the Chamber of Commerce or the big real estate industry. I'm only going to be beholden to the people, and I will be accountable to only the people. With that said, I am the best candidate because I am corporate free and I will only serve the people of Downey. Vote for me, Juan Martinez, for 5th District.
Okay, thank you, sir. Also from the 5th District, candidate Carrie Uva. Ms. Uva?
Good evening. My name is Carrie Uva. My roots are in Downey. I am Downey born, raised, and educated. I have lived in Downey for 55 years. I have worked in Downey for nearly 30 years as an estate planning attorney and real estate broker. I am a team player, a great collaborator, and will work side by side with council members for a positive agenda for Downey. I am proud to say that I am endorsed by 4 out of 5 current council members and all 7 school board members. I have taken an active role in our community. I have served as president of the Downey Chamber of Commerce, president of the Downey Association of Realtors, and I'm an appointed commissioner for the Measure S Oversight Committee and a commissioner on the Downey Public Works Committee. My family moved to Downey in the early 1960s because Downey was a close-knit and safe community to live, work, and raise a family in. I want to make sure that all Downey residents and Downey business owners feel the same level of security in our present times. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Those are the opening statements. What we're going to do now is, again, we will question candidates district by district, so it will not be a crossover of candidate 1 in District 1, District 3. That's why we're going to question only those candidates in the particular district. So we'll start with that right now. The first question, we'll do candidate in the district number 1. Open question, I'll give you both a chance to answer. First question is, do you support rent forgiveness? Ms. Contreras, you go first.
Hi, thank you for the question, Dave. Yes, I do support rent forgiveness. Right now, I'm a renter. I'm a renter here in the city of Downey, and I'm one of the lucky few who can find an affordable place to live, which isn't that affordable. I pay $13.50 a month for my studio apartment here in Downey, and I know how difficult it can be for families, working class families, even lower middle income families to thrive and survive during the pandemic. Sometimes what we need to do as a city council is make sure that we use our funds that we have to invest in protecting our renters and protecting our homeowners, not just thinking about the renters, but thinking about the mobile homeowners and the homeowners here who are struggling to hold on to their homes that they worked so hard for. It would be a shame to lose families, jobs, students, if we as a city morally neglect our most needy residents at the most needy time. So yes, I do support forms of rent forgiveness.
Okay. Mayor Pacheco, the same question. Do you support rent forgiveness? You have to unmute yourself, please.
Thank you. Great question. What I support is I support helping renters when they are in need. I am support of what we have, the actions that we have taken. What we did in our city of Downey is we created a moratorium or a stop on evictions from residential and commercial tenants. And we have that moratorium in place. We also set aside $700,000 to help renters to pay their rent. And we still have money available for those renters. And I am also in favor of helping our business owners. I am not in favor of foregoing on rent, as this would have a monumental consequence on those landlords, on your mom and pop landlords who need that money to pay their mortgage. And so for that reason, I am against rent forgiveness, but I am in favor of helping the community and the renters. Thank you.
You both answered part of the question, but I'll ask it this way. You both support rent forgiveness. How will those funds be reimbursed? You both touched on that. And the other follow-up question, what support would be offered to the homeowners? You both touched on that, but go ahead and we'll give you the 90 seconds to elaborate. We'll let the mayor go first on that.
Thank you. Sir, currently there's a legislative that was passed by the state governor that offers mortgage, some help on mortgage regarding mortgage forgiveness, and that is on the state level. Unfortunately, on the local level, we don't have any authority over that.
Okay, Ms. Contreras?
Contrary to what my opponent is saying, the city actually does have the funds to help extend the rent. Basically, what we can do is expand the rental assistance program that we have currently existing for renters here in the city, expand it to mobile homeowners as well as homeowners, just by tweaking a few things. We do have the funds, but what the city has done instead is allocate $2 million while slashing other community funds to the police force. What that $2 million could have done is make sure that we keep homeowners in their homes when they need it most. Making sure that residents stay in their homes is an issue of public safety and public health. And for us to pretend it is anything otherwise is criminal and immoral.
Mayor, I'll give you a chance to rebut on that, and then we'll go to the next question.
So I just want to mention that we do have a rental assistance program. That money, all of it has not been allocated to the renters. We are actually looking at those renters who are on the waiting list, so that way we can help more renters who are in need.
All right, thank you. Next question. At the beginning of this year, the Downey City Council voted to decrease the public speaking time from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Ms. Contreras, do you agree with that change? And if so, why or why not?
As someone who's worked in public advocacy for a very long time at this point, I understand the concerns that a lot of people have with reducing 5 minutes to 3 minutes. 3 minutes and 30 seconds is what I had personally advocated for when the public time change had gone. Because as a public advocate who has helped people basically fight for their rights with their city, as well as fighting for renters' rights here in Downey, when my opponent voted to evict people before Christmas time, I was there with the people, making sure that people stayed in their homes before the holidays. And I understand the concern of reducing time, which is why I said 3 minutes, 30 seconds, because that is the perfect amount of time to help people craft their statement, make sure the point is laid across and that it's heard. So while I do agree reducing for the need of speeding along the process of public meetings, I also felt that we should have made it at 3 minutes, 30 seconds, to just give that extra wiggle room, because speaking in public can be very intimidating, especially at city council meetings where the city council does nothing about hate speech or other racial epithets that are casually thrown across the city council room.
Okay. Mayor, same question. You agree to shorten it? If not, why not? And your response.
So I agree in shortening that time. I was actually one of the council members and mayor who supported that. And the reason being is we did a survey as to the amount of time that was being allocated in other cities. And that time was 3 minutes. That was the norm. In fact, some cities had even less time. And yes, profanity is being used, but unfortunately we do have to deal with it. There's a lot of language that's being thrown out there that a lot of us either get offended at or we don't agree, but there is a First Amendment right. Everybody has a freedom of speech and has a right to say how they feel, and also they have the right to use the words that they feel appropriate. And so for that reason, I do agree 3 minutes is more than sufficient time, especially if you are prepared. Thank you.
Okay, next question. As we know, 2020 has certainly been a very difficult year in all aspects of our life. Do you feel that the city of Downey has addressed the needs of residents and businesses to what has happened? And what would you have done differently? Ms. Contreras, if you were on the council, what would you have done differently? That's a question to you.
Yes, thank you for the question. I don't think anyone anticipated what was going to happen, but some things needed to have happened, which I was there advocating for. We needed to make sure that we shut down the city right away, follow the public health administrator's leadership in San Francisco. They have expertise with dealing with this kind of things, and the city of Downey should have followed. We have some of the highest cases of COVID and some of the highest deaths in Seala County, which is simply unacceptable. Our businesses are suffering and our people are dying, including pastors here at churches, while the city council has done nothing. What I proposed was we have a strict mask ordinance here within the city. We also open a safe streets program so that way people can freely exercise within the safety of their blocks. Because right now, Downey doesn't have sidewalks. So how are people supposed to feel safe exercising or getting outdoors when they simply don't have access to that infrastructure? I also advocated for making sure that we enact a strict renters moratorium and homeowner eviction moratorium to make sure that we keep people in their homes, because people cannot be healthy, they cannot get better, they cannot seek the well-being of their minds and their bodies if they're on the verge of being thrown out of their homes, which the city council failed to act. And even after I had brought it to their attention.
Mayor, did the city do enough? What would you have done differently had you had the chance?
Hello. So this year has been an unprecedented year, and we all had to think outside the box. We all had to do our best. And for me, it was important to provide the residents all the resources necessary to deal with this unprecedented time. We stopped evictions for commercial and residential tenants who were financially impacted. We allocated $700,000 for a rental assistance program to help residential tenants affected by COVID. We received a total of 250 applications and processed 112 checks, and we're still going through the waiting list to attempt to help more residents. Also, at our next council meeting, we're going to be considering the expenditure of additional grant funds to assist our small businesses, pay additional rents for our residents, and fund nonprofits to assist the most at need during this time of need. We also held 2 huge food distributions in our city. Last one, we fed over 3,200 families. I helped a local food pantry, Food Help. We donated pallets of food to the food pantry. So it was an unprecedented year. Nobody could have predicted it. And yet I feel like myself as mayor and the city, we handled it well. Thank you.
Thank you. Changing the subject now, downtown Downey is always a very important part of the city. What is your plan for downtown Downey? We'll start with the mayor. Unmute yourself again, please.
Thank you. So for our downtown Downey, we developed a specific downtown plan that was developed 10 years ago. Prior to 2010, there was no such thing as a downtown Downey. Yet now it is a vibrant and growing area in our city with more vehicles traveling down Downey Avenue, which is what we need to do is we need to attract more quality restaurants and create more social programs like art walks, cultural events, and food festivals. And while on council, we created a downtown property owners association that creates a funding source for property owners to reinvest that money towards the downtown area. Continued investments in our downtown area will create more jobs, more consumers, and that will lead to more funding, which we can utilize to reinvest in our city on matters that are most important to our residents, like fixing our streets, paving, fixing potholes. We need to do more for our city. And so this is what we're doing in our downtown area. Thank you.
Ms. Contreras, your response, what would you do in downtown Downey?
Yes, so downtown Downey is an area that is growing a lot more significantly than when I was a kid. Blanca Petrenko says she supports business owners, but she voted down actually a repayment plan for business owners on their back rent from 3 months to giving them only 2 months to pay back what they owed. So what I would plan to do is our small businesses are the lifeline of this city. What I would like to see is actually vehicle miles traveled through Downey doesn't necessarily mean foot traffic. What I would like to do is make sure that we have public transit, walking, and biking accessibility to get down to the shops. So that way you can bike down on a Sunday afternoon safely with your family to go get ice cream. Or you can easily take the bus in and make sure that you grab a drink, grab a friend, and hang out that evening. But the most important thing we need to do to make sure that our businesses stay here is make sure that they don't go out of businesses by making sure that they stay in business and not evicting them from their place. If they leave, like one of my favorite restaurants, Do the Thai Cuisine, shout out to that's my favorite Thai place in all of restaurant, in all of Downey. If they leave, they're never coming back. And right now there hasn't been enough done to make sure that happened, that they don't leave. So I would make sure that we extend the eviction moratorium for commercial businesses, make sure that we provide the foot traffic, not vehicle miles traveled, but the foot traffic for people to get there. So that way they can enjoy their space safely and happily with their families.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Contreras, I'll throw this question at you. The Downey Police and defunding. First of all, your position on the Downey Police Department, good, bad, and different. And do you support defunding the budget?
My position on the Downey Police Force has so far been a rather negative one. My friends, volunteers that I have worked with, people that I've known in the city, have come to talk to me personally about their experiences of being victimized and brutalized by Downey Police Force. When we talk about the history of Downey, we have to talk about how this city was redlined. And at one point, Latino families, Black families, they were not allowed to live here. My family has that history. My dad's uncle a World War II veteran, tried to buy a home here in Downey and was told no, because wouldn't you feel more comfortable living in a city that fits your character? So the history of Downey Police Department is not one without talking about racial reconciliation and racial justice. I think it is actually, I personally believe that when facing a global pandemic, the fact that our city places money towards policing as opposed to public health, making sure that the Downey healthcare workers have access to testing and safe PPE, is immoral. Why would you spend some extra money on security on a house during a pandemic when you should be spending it on making sure that the house is being taken care of, that there's food in it, and that there's not just food for you, but your family, but your neighbors next door? That's how I view our police budget. That's how I view our budget as a whole as a city, by making sure that everyone in the city is cared for. And cops are already overwhelmed with their jobs as is. Cops cannot help you if you're struggling to put food on the table. The cops cannot help you if you're having a mental health crisis. Those are things that the city needs to invest in, because the cops simply cannot do that. So I would like to allocate our funds to making sure that we have that kind of need, that provided access for our residents, as opposed to just giving it for policing.
Okay, thank you very much. Same questions to you, Mayor. Your position on the Downey Police, and are you in favor of defunding the police budget?
Thank you. I couldn't unmute myself.
Okay.
I am against defunding our police department. Our officers do an amazing job, and our residents approve of our police officers. We have a safe city. Crime rate has gone down since 2017 to now it is down by 34%. And our residents love our police officers. When we did a survey back in 2016, our officers have received an approval rating of 91%. Defunding our police would take away crucial resources from our police officers that could ultimately impact our officers and put our residents in danger. Regarding mental health, we have 2 mental health professionals that team up with two of our police officers, who those officers are also trained to deal with mental health issues. They go on calls that deal with issues of mental illness and also with suicidal individuals who may need a 5150 hold. Also, I want to add that we also implemented a tactical medic program this year, which I was able to do as mayor. And this program allows our police officers, which we have 6, to be trained in EMT training. They're equipped with paramedic bags, and they're capable of saving lives. I had a police officer inform me that he was able to save someone's life by performing CPR, and he was extremely happy. We have amazing officers, and I do not support defunding our police.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now go to District 3 and the 3 candidates, basically the same questions. I'll start with Catherine Alvarez. Ms. Alvarez, do you support rent forgiveness?
Yes, I do. This is what is going on with rent forgiveness. Actually, we can actually get all the money and part of the money from the city and the other part of the money of the state. Sometimes we can actually work it out with our nationwide as well, because there's funds out there. So yes, I approve it, and I'm gonna be working on it because I have done it for many months. Before, way before all this pandemic happened, I tried and I filed for the moratorium on November. It didn't happen by Blanca Pacheco and the city council members. Why? Because they have worked with the real estate directly, so they didn't pass it. Unfortunately, they didn't, and a lot of families had to live out of here. So I am going to work for rent forgiveness, rent control, and housing for everyone.
Okay. Mr. Peavy, same question to you. Do you support rent forgiveness?
Thank you, Dave. I feel like a lot of families need help. You know, some people have money, more money than others. We're living in strange times where people are losing jobs left and right. They just don't have the income that they used to have. They don't make the money that they used to make. There's plenty of people getting homeless, and your families are just out on the street, not because you want to be homeless, because you don't have a choice but to be homeless, because you don't bring in enough money to pay your rent and survive for your family. But I don't support rent forgiveness because I feel like it's not good for the owners. It would mess up the economy and mess up the budget to keep the economy going. So no, I don't support rent forgiveness.
All right. Eric Pierce, the same question to you. Do you support rent forgiveness?
So let me start by saying I think it's immoral to evict somebody because they lost their income because of COVID. But that said, I think rent forgiveness, like a blank check to renters, it doesn't work. And I think we have to think about the consequences on the property owners. You know, there's this myth that these are big corporations that own these properties, that own these income properties. But lots of there are senior citizens who need this income to pay their own bills. I think any kind of financial relief for renters also needs to take into consideration the property owners and the landlords. I do support a moratorium on evictions and finding a way and giving the renters some sort of relief and coming up with a plan where they can pay back what they owe. It's something that we're all in it together, but just a blanket rent forgiveness, it doesn't work.
You've touched on the other two questions about how these funds would be reimbursed and what support would be offered to the homeowners. Is there anything you want to add on that subject? Especially, what support would you offer to these homeowners who find themselves in a position where they cannot pay their rent or stay or their mortgage? Mr. Peavy, I'll start with you.
Yes, I think that for the citizens that can't pay their rent, that they should have some kind of plan to where they won't get too far behind. Because once you get behind, it's kind of hard to catch up on bills and rent because stuff just keeps piling up and piling up over time. So I will create some kind of plan to where I won't evict anyone, but they'll have enough time to have some kind of extension so they can pay their rent.
Ms. Alvarez, you were very strong on saying you want rent forgiveness. How would you pay for it, and what support would you give to those people?
Well, rent forgiveness does not necessarily mean that landlords will not receive money. It's a question of working with state, county, and local funding sources to help homeowners and renters. So we can actually work with the community, and we have to actually do a rent freeze for housing, and not only for housing, even though for developers, even for the small business, because they don't have money to pay right now. So we need to do a rent freeze at least for 2 or 4 years until all the economic goes up again.
All right, Eric, same question to you. What support would you be offered to those people?
Well, I know the city of Downey already offers, they have grant programs available for renters. But you know, this is a national pandemic. I think this is something that's going to require state and national funds. I don't think it's something that the city of Downey on its own wouldn't be able to afford. It's something that we're going to need to get some assistance from the state and from the country.
All right, thank you. It's the same question of the other candidates in the first district. The issue of speaking public time, 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Do you agree, not agree? And what's considered to be reasonable? Ms. Alvarez, we'll start with you first.
Can you repeat that question again, please?
Yes, at city council meetings, the city council for public speakers cut the time down from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Do you agree with that? If so, why not? And what would you consider to be a reasonable time for public speakers?
I'm neutral to that decision due to that 3 minutes. It's okay to actually have any conversation with the city council, any questions or answers that they can have. The other thing is that the 5 minutes, it was long, but what if I couldn't have that much time to talk about my issue? So I think it's a valuation of the First Amendment, because first they started with that in the city council now that they have it in place. And now they wanted to actually stop the First Amendment to go out there and speak loud. But the real motive behind the 3 minutes was to silence critics of city council and not allowed us to talk about what's the issues right here in the city council. And we gotta remind ourselves that this started in November when all these people that it was going through so many issues with the rent problems, that's when they come saying that the 3 minutes it was gonna come up again, not the 5 minutes.
Right. Eric, your views on this? Mr. Pierce?
You know, I opposed it at first, but I actually agree with it now. I think 3 minutes is enough time. I think the issue is too many people were abusing their 5 minutes. And if you've attended a city council meeting anytime recently, it gets really ugly with racist comments and just very abusive behavior towards people. So I think 3 minutes is enough time to get your point across. And I think it's in line with the time that other cities give the public.
All right. Mr. Peavy, you're weighing in on this?
Thank you. I think that 3 minutes is enough time because once you start talking, and that should be enough time to get your point across. But I do agree with the First Amendment, and I do take into consideration that sometimes it depends on the situation. You may overtalk to 3 minutes, so maybe that if they're given a few more seconds over the 3 minutes without getting cut off, just a little bit extra space. But I think 3 minutes is enough.
Okay, thank you. Again, none of you are on the city council. It's easy to second guess, and so people say that's the easiest thing in the world to do. But 2020 has been a very, very difficult year, to put it mildly. What would you have done differently, Mr. Pierce, if you were on the council, or did the city do enough?
Well, you're right. Hindsight is always 2020. I would have liked to have seen better communication from the city, especially towards our small businesses. Starting when the lockdown happened, and even now, there's been a lot of confusion over who can open, who can't open, under what guidelines. So I think it would be nice. I would have liked to see like a task force that would reach out to our local businesses, our barbershops, our nail salons, and let them know what the current LA County rules are, because there was a lot of confusion in that regard. I also heard from restaurants and businesses who tried to open outside, and they were frustrated with the permit process. So I think, and it's not too late to ease that permit process and make it a little bit easier for our businesses, because they're trying to make a living, they're trying to feed their families. And so, but number one, it would have been communication to the public. I think that could have been improved.
All right, Mr. Peavy, same question to you.
I agree with Mr. Pierce. I think communication does make a big difference. And some people are confused, or they're confused and just don't understand what's going on. We're living in a pandemic that we've never seen before. So I feel like if the city of Downey was more communicating not only with businesses, but the residents and all of the citizens, then we can strive better together and be on the same page as a community.
All right, Ms. Alvarez, same question. What would you have done differently if you had the power?
The city must be inclusive and bring all the voices to find solutions. We gotta listen to our constituents. We gotta listen to our people, to our community. Downey cannot be only real estate, lawyers, and rich people. I will have a call for community forums to have all heard. So we need to listen to our community, because those are the people who's having the problems right now, not us, not think about only us. We need to listen to them.
All right, next question, the issue of downtown Downey, the future, your plans. We'll start with you, Ms. Alvarez, your view and your look at what downtown Downey should be.
Well, downtown for me, it has been okay as far, but with the COVID-19, it's not being equal for everybody. So I am seeing that suffering of the small businesses that is going around, not only the street that it was closed. It was the only businesses that are around there. So if one business is going to be open, if one business is going to be open for everybody, not just a couple of them, just to give that opportunity to sell or just minimize the sales for them, because those are small businesses, meaning that there's families behind that. And we need the income, we need the money for them as well, so they can actually live in this society that it's so expensive right now.
All right, thank you. Mr. Peavy, your views and ideas for downtown Downey.
Downtown Downey, I think is in very pretty good shape now, but I think that we need to focus on the small businesses that's in downtown Downey, because people in the community tend to overlook those businesses, and they also need the support to go on farther in life, for their own good and for their own benefit. But downtown Downey is very nice. It's in very good shape. So
Okay.
There's nothing to change.
All right, Eric, your views on that?
Well, the downtown it's come a long way in the last 4, 5, 6 years, which is pretty exciting. I do think we should have a conversation about the type of businesses we want downtown. I would like to see more independently owned businesses, more restaurants. I think we've reached our max capacity with bars, and so I wouldn't want to see any more bars. I would also like to see Downey Avenue possibly closed on the weekends to make it more of an open air type of atmosphere, as long as the businesses are okay with it. But we're heading in the right direction. I think Porto's has been awesome for us, and we should be really grateful to them. But we've made a lot of progress, and I'm excited.
Okay, thank you. And the question about police, that's always the controversial subject. I'll start with Mr. Peavy on this one. First of all, your thoughts on the Downey Police Department, the kind of job they're doing, and do you support defunding the police?
Thank you. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I earned my degree in criminal justice, and currently I'm actively pursuing a career with the Los Angeles Police Department. And I think the city of Downey does a very good job keeping our community safe. Like, they do what they have to do. They're always on standby, and they get the job done. Even though we can use some improvement, we can always use improvement when it comes to safety. When it comes to public safety, we can always use improvement in all areas. I don't support defunding the police. No matter where you live, what community you're in, we need to be safe, and I feel like the police needs a lot of funding to continue the great works that they do. Every day of the week, they go out there, they put their life on the line for me and you, and we should take that to serious consideration to don't defund the police, because we need the police every day of the week, and they're always there, and they never fail and they never give up.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pierce, same questions to you. Your thoughts on the Downey Police Department and defunding?
Well, I definitely support our Downey Police Department, and it's not blind support. It's support that they've earned over the years. As a community, we hold them to a very high standard, and they wouldn't have it any other way. One thing to remember is that we have our own police department, and we brag about it, but what that means is that we have that control over it. So we're not the LAPD, we're not the sheriff's department. If there's an issue within our police department, we can tweak it to meet our community's needs. And we have great communication, and we have great officers. Our police department has trouble hiring officers because our standards are so high, and that's the way that it should be. So I definitely support our police department. And no, I don't support defunding. I do think we have to evolve how policing is done. And what I mean by that is, I don't think we should have police officers out with homeless people who are sleeping on the streets. That's not something that a police officer should be doing. We also have mental health issues with people in our city, but having our own police department, we can fine tune it to meet the needs in our community.
All right, thank you. Ms. Alvarez, the same question, your opinion of the Downey Police and the question of defunding.
Yes. Well, first, we must admit that in society, the racism against the African American community exists. Police brutality is real. And we can argue as to the solution, but there cannot be a real solution unless resources are relocated to prevention of crime. And we know that poverty is the biggest cause of crime. If we want to reduce crime, we have to reduce poverty. So the police must be funded in context of fighting crime of all levels. Sometimes, some things only police can do, other things need counselors, clinics, and jobs. And we really need to make sure that there's a lot of mental health out there, and police are not prepared for that. So we need to get all those organizations, resources, or money out of there so we can actually fix the problem.
And the question of defunding, I didn't hear if you were for it or against it.
I don't agree to it. It's just that we need to make the money out of the police. So we need to get more organizations so we can put the money in there for the mental issues. So like the chief commander said it. I mean, I'm not only saying it, chief commander said it.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll go now to District 5. Same type of questions. We'll start with Mr. Gonzalez on the question of, do you support rent forgiveness?
Well, the rent forgiveness, first of all, I think that the renters have to be working with the owner of the apartment, because the economy, it has a lot to do with the homeowner of the apartment being able to make his payments. On one side, we have owners who have hundreds of units. Okay, some of them are paid, some of them not. Some of them are out there making loans, whether it's thousands or millions of dollars. Okay, so we need to take them off into consideration. So the tenant has to be working with their managers, with the owners of those units. You know, in the past, I've heard many years ago, when people had difficulties and they couldn't make their payments, what they would do is speak with the owner, speak with the manager, and negotiate a price. I think that should be the first step, okay, in regard to forgiveness.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Trujillo, same question.
Absolutely. During a pandemic, we need to consider rent forgiveness. But what if the landlord is part of our aging population in Downey that depends on rental money to survive? What happens then? Well, I would like to think that in Downey, we're going to lead from a position of fairness and caring for our residents. We look at both sides and figure out what needs to be done and how the city can help so that we can move forward as neighbors. So absolutely, we're going to have to forgive rent in some circumstances, but we need to make sure that our landlord is able to pay his or her mortgage, because mortgage forgiveness is a federal issue. So we have to look at both sides and operate from a position of fairness and caring and take care of our Downey residents, whether they're renters or landlords.
Okay, Mr. Martinez, same question to you. Rent forgiveness? Yes, no?
Absolutely. We need rent forgiveness for homeowners. We need for tenants and small businesses. We need to realize that we are in a pandemic crisis right now, and the people are losing their jobs at an exponential rate. Now, I don't want you to buy into the illusion that it's tenant versus landlord. What it really is tenants and landlords and homeowners versus the big banks. And mind you, on a national level, Congress and the federal system has no problem bailing banks out, but they are okay with not assisting the people who are in immediate need. So when it comes to mortgage forgiveness, rent forgiveness, and aid to small businesses, I am definitely for it. And the fact that Blanca Pacheco, when she was seeking endorsements from the Democratic Party, bragged about participating in 1 month worth of rent forgiveness, that shows you that even our own city council and the current mayor understand that it's important. So I am definitely for it on all levels.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Uva, the same question to you.
Yes, I do support rent forgiveness in the current times that we're in, unprecedented times where both tenants, residents, landowners, homeowners are all struggling to make ends meet. So we have to work together with a plan to allow some sort of rent forgiveness for those tenants that are truly affected by COVID, whether it be that they lost their job or they maybe even were diagnosed with the virus and had to lose time from their job and not have a salary during that time period. However, the landlords are truly suffering as well. There are many, many homeowners here in Downey that are landlords that are senior citizens that rely on that income. That income makes their mortgage payment, puts food on their table. So I would like to see some sort of workout plan that comes together with the aid of our governor, and ideally put a sunset on the time period within which these tenants can have the forgiveness. And ideally, my goal would be towards the end of this year, December 31st.
Okay, thank you. You've all touched on it a little bit, but I'll ask it a different way. You all agree to it. How do these funds be reimbursed? And what can the city do to support and help these homeowners? We'll start with you, Mr. Martinez.
So one area that we could look at is look at our budget in areas where it's not functioning. We also got to take into account that this is going to fall on the federal level. So a lot of the issues that we need to address will be coming from the state level. But definitely, if we can make cuts, or we can look at programs that are not in need as of now here in Downey, that will definitely help aid a lot of the issues that we're having in regards to businesses and rent forgiveness for homeowners and tenants and landlords, really. So,
okay, Mr. Trujillo, same question to you, sir.
Absolutely, and the city has already taken major steps. I mean, thank you to the council for being bold and setting up the account for our renters, which we know has not been exhausted. And what that tells us is we're very fortunate and blessed in Downey to have renters that are surviving and have not yet turned to the city for those resources. So definitely we're going to continue that spirit of taking care of our renters and making sure that nobody goes hungry and nobody loses the shelter that they've hopefully held as residents of Downey. We're all Downey, and we're all
Finish.
She froze.
continue to do that in the next administration, the upcoming council.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Uva, the same question to you. Is there enough support that the city can give to the homeowners?
I think the city has provided some support, but I also think that the city can look into other sources, whether it be the county level, the state level, or even the federal level. There's got to be sources that are available out there that we're not tapping into, that we perhaps can tap into to help both our residents, our tenants, and our landlords.
Okay, and Mr. Gonzalez, your response on that?
I would start, of course, with room for improvement. And of course, that is one of the reasons that the committees that I have said earlier, for reviewing the quality assurance review, would also be looking as an example, how much money from the budget is allocated for the housing personnel. I believe I saw it yesterday, and it ran between $14,000 and $17,000. That is what's allocated. So I think there's room for improvement to increase that in order to be able to make a dent in finding ways to be a solution so that it can be brought to our attention in a much better professional manner.
Okay, thank you, sir. The question again about the public speaking from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, agree, disagree, or what would be a reasonable time frame? Mr. Gonzalez, we'll start with you.
In regard to being reduced to 3 minutes, I totally disagree. As a matter of fact, I would increase it if not, so that the city mayor could have the option of going from 5 to even extending it up to 7 minutes, when we have a person in front of us who is basically telling us something that needs our attention, it's on the right track, and it needs immediate attention, okay? We don't need to be used abusive, whether it's being reduced down to 3 minutes, or even taking it to the extreme of withholding that public opening meetings there that we have as citizens. As an example, when I first came to Downey, I had to go out there and lead. When I had the opportunity to go before with 35 of my neighbors, that opening for us to speak 5 minutes each, it opened close to 1:30 in the morning. That was abuse then. And so quality assurance review, we're guaranteed that will never happen again.
All right, Mr. Trujillo, your thoughts on that?
Well, first and foremost, what our residents deserve and what they want is to be heard. So you can rest assured that as a council member, I will be available to the residents of Downey. They will have my phone number. I respond quickly to email. With that said, let's be realistic and talk about the fact that we're even talking about this is because a certain number of people are making a mockery out of our democracy system. It is shameful. It is a circus what's going on in the council member. So while I'm for the First Amendment, let's call it what it is. These individuals shouldn't even be given those 3 minutes. So in my perspective, they're lucky to be even getting those 3. But if I have a real concerned citizen who's making coherent statements, who's not insulting people, and is really discussing the issues at hand, we will give that person the discretion to continue to speak and address us appropriately. But a mockery of our democracy is not acceptable, is out of line, and plain and simply disrespectful to the residents of the city.
Okay, Ms. Uva, your thoughts on that?
I agree with council's decision to limit the time frame from the 5 minutes to the 3 minutes. I feel we all have a First Amendment right to publicly speak and express our opinion and share what concerns we have in the city. Totally agree with that. I just feel that they did the research. Other cities rely on the 3 minute mark. I just feel that if you go up there and you have planned in mind what you want to say, perhaps maybe even have it written down, you can clearly get that point across within a 3 minute time period. And I think that's more than fair for anybody that goes up to speak at a city council meeting. I always make my phone number available as I'm walking the streets of Downey. On my flyer is my personal cell phone number. Residents can always reach out to council members privately on their own, whether it be via email or via a cell phone conversation, and express their concerns to a council member in that way as well.
And Mr. Martinez, your thoughts on this?
So I want to make it very clear that when they reduced the 5 minutes to 3 minutes, that was an assault on the First Amendment. And really what these council members were doing was stealing from the residents of Downey. Now, Trujillo easily said, it's a shame that these people are speaking now, that some people shouldn't even be given those minutes. Mr. Trujillo, as an attorney, I am ashamed that you are mocking and interfering with the First Amendment. First of all, you don't get to decide what people speak or say. The First Amendment protects any type of speech. And for other candidates in this forum to be saying, well, I'll be accessible, you'll be able to reach me, that is ridiculous. So what you're saying is that if someone has a concern or a critique, you want them to do it in private? I don't think so. When I asked that city council, why are you doing this? I asked them specific questions. I said, is it because we need to allow more speakers to speak? That was not the case. Is it because it would be more efficient? Not even close. The only reasoning that you're gonna hear tonight for justifying that action really comes down to because other cities are doing it.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Do you have a time frame? Do you like the 5 minutes?
I would restore the time frame of the people. I will give them back what was stolen from them. That's
the 5 minute mark. Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Martinez, we'll start with you on this next question. Again, 2020, a year that I think all of us would like to forget. In your opinion, what should the city have done differently? If you had the power on the council, what would you have done differently in this pandemic?
So when it came down to the pandemic crisis, we did not shut down fast enough. We did not listen, well, not we, really the current council members in power, did not listen to CDC guidelines or health guidelines. What they did, and here's where the major difference has to be taken into account. Following what is approved by the current government does not always align with CDC or health guidelines. So if many of you can remember that after we shut down, they brought back gyms. Terrible idea, huge, terrible idea. But you know why they were brought back? Why they opened it? They opened it because the city approved it. Now that was not consistent with health guidelines, but it was consistent with what the city was allowing, what the county was allowing you to do. We need to make decisions that are based on empirical evidence and are supported by the medical experts, not by what businesses, real estate, and people like Governor Newsom or even Donald Trump want. We got to do right by our constituents. And that's why right now we are the most highly impacted area for COVID-19 cases. My father is one of those survivors that had to stand in line outside of the emergency room for a few nights because the management of this crisis was poorly handled, and I blame the city council for that. So if you have someone that's passed away or someone that is struggling to survive right now, you got to remember who was the one who favored businesses over people first.
Ms. Uva, your thoughts on that? If you had the power, what would you have done differently?
So it is my opinion that what we have learned from the current.
That's okay. Go ahead, Mr. Chair. I said Ms. Uva, but she was. Are you up and running now, Ms. Uva?
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was having trouble unmuting.
Go ahead.
I believe that small businesses that's one of the huge successes to our community. We need to help small businesses, and we need to help them get back on their feet during this aftermath of COVID-19. As having served as president of the Downey Chamber of Commerce this last year, I saw what the chamber did. We had a lot of members that reached out to us for assistance, and we were there to help them promote their business, advertise their business, and do whatever we could as a chamber to get these businesses open and running during the times when they were allowed to reopen suddenly or quickly. I would have liked to have seen better communication in our city as regards to the PPP loans that were available from the different banks. Not a lot of businesses knew about that. And I think more businesses could have taken advantage of that opportunity to get those loans and help. I would like to have seen better communication as to the availability as to PPE equipment, masks, and the like to business owners who perhaps needed it. I just felt that it wasn't communicated as best as it could have been. But overall, I want to see the businesses up and running and back on their feet again.
All right. Mr. Trujillo, your thoughts? Same question. What would you have done differently, sir?
Yes. So the takeaways from the pandemic is that technology is obviously the new norm. It is unfortunate that Downey did not step up to the plate in regard to technology. As an example is the fact that while many cities can today upload plans submitted to the city electronically through technology, Downey has not been able to do that. We have to start turning to technology. I found that the city was in some occasions reactive rather than proactive, especially when it comes to the business community. Perhaps they should have formed a task force for businesses. I mean, and with some of the things that were going on with our businesses, for example, requiring an outdoor yoga studio to have a $5 million policy is just not realistic. It seems to me that the city did not do enough to reach out to business owners. So I would focus on technology and making sure that we are prepared. Should another situation such as a pandemic strike our city, we must be ready to react and be able to communicate effectively with all our residents in terms of the resources that are available, in terms of finding out if everyone's okay. Technology would be my biggest change.
Okay, sir, thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, the same question to you. What would you have done differently had you had the ability to do so?
Can you hear me now?
No, go ahead, we can hear you.
Well, first of all, I want to compare it to the coyote problem that we had last year. If we look at to how we were dealing with the coyote, we were identifying the location, where the sighting and all of that. We more or less, everybody was out there on the lookout. We had the police, we had the neighborhood watch. The neighbors were calling in, they were texting. What did we do? I think that basically we needed to have had someone, if not just within the area, as to where we have people that have been identified to having the virus. We needed for them to make sure that they get isolated or quarantined. But for example, you don't know if your neighbor had it, and you're only, what, 10, 15, 20 feet away? Okay, we don't need to know everything. Of course, all of that is private and public, but for the safety of all, the city and our government needed to have more control over that. Okay, only in regard to the safety for the safety of the community.
Okay, sir, thank you. We'll go on to the next question. Downtown Downey, a very important part for many residents. We'll start with Ms. Uva on this one. Your plans for Downtown Downey?
Downtown Downey is an integral part of our city. I recently heard a statistic that prior to COVID, about 12,000 cars passed through downtown Downey each day. That's a lot of traffic going through one street in a city. I would like to see the Downtown Downey plan have more applicants that are family-friendly types of businesses, more shops. I'd like to see more family activity in the downtown Downey area. Our nights and our weekends in the downtown area has led to many police calls, trash, debris, urinating in public, and many disputes in downtown Downey that have had to have our police get called out on many instances. I would like to see more foot patrol, police officers on foot patrolling the downtown Downey area. And I'd like to see a little bit more enforcement on the violators and keep all the businesses in downtown Downey accountable to follow the rules that they set forth in their Downtown Downey coalition. Surrounding cities like Pasadena and Alhambra have all gone through the growing pains of creating downtown Downeys. And I think that if we follow a certain plan and get on track, that our city will be just like our surrounding cities and have a great thriving downtown Downey.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez, the question to you too, Downtown Downey. You have to unmute yourself, sir. Mr. Gonzalez, unmute yourself. We can't hear you. Hello? Did you? Hello? I'll tell you what, figure out, unmute yourself. Can you? First technical difficulty of the night. You got it?
Can you hear me now?
There we go. All right.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
In regard to downtown, I know very little in regard to that. Okay. Reason, I mean, I really don't go out much at night. Not that I have a problem. I don't have much information in regard to that. So my response to that question would be very limited.
Okay.
But nevertheless, when it comes down to businesses, businesses have to have some control up to a certain degree. Of course, you cannot control the atmosphere once the patrons leave your business. Okay, so for that, of course, I would say that we do need, if needed, we would have to have more police. But then again, we also have to use caution. You know, for example, right now with the coronavirus and all that, I've heard in the news recently, within in the last month or so that a particular party was going on in a large house. The police came, arrested, cited some, and at the end of the day, they gave the bill to the house owner. Are we going to go in that way also to give the citation? For example, back then, on the month that we heard, I believe it was like $35,000 due to all the resources. So who's going to pay for those resources? That's the question. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Mr. Martinez, your thoughts on downtown Downey?
So we definitely, I like the statistic that I heard from Ms. Uva, really about the cars passing through, but what we should be considering doing is building bike lanes to make sure that those areas are more accessible to pedestrians and to people passing through. Obviously, that's going to increase more revenue as better accessibility provides a better opportunity. When it comes to some of the businesses that are there, actually, I'll end my time right there.
Okay, and Mr. Trujillo, your thoughts on downtown Downey?
So first and foremost, congratulations to the city for the implementation of the Downtown Downey plan. The plan created 10 years ago is about an area where 10 years ago, the anchor was a funeral home. Today, it's a thriving location. We've made a destination primarily for millennials. That's step one. What I think we need to do is consider the residents. As a resident myself, it is very important that we remember that the Downtown Downey plan contemplated a pedestrian aspect that has yet to be implemented. As a member of the Business Improvement District for the downtown, we were prepared to release the social programming aspect, and then COVID hit. The plans are to build a center for family residents and Downeys to enjoy, to be able to walk and enjoy a family environment that can be converted to a destination for people from the Southeast after perhaps 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. But imagine a downtown Downey where we can host the cultural events for our city. The most effective downtowns are locations where people can live, work, and enjoy the dining experience. Let's give better direction about the traffic, the parking structure that's not being used. Let's consider the quality of life of our residents with the growth that we're about to undertake.
Okay, thank you. And
May I chime in? Because really what I wanted to see prior was actually a response to Mr. Trujillo, who actually has businesses in the 3rd District, mainly downtown Downey. And the right answer would actually be to recuse yourself because you would have various conflicts of interest and you are in partnership with other people in that area. So definitely what Trujillo would be able to do for that area should be limited and restricted, really.
May I respond?
Okay, yeah, Mr. Trujillo, in fairness, 30 seconds response, go ahead. Mr. Trujillo, we can't hear you. I don't know if you muted yourself or not. It's okay? No?
Out of the fact that we'll be having soon an Ola.
Let me interrupt in just for a second. We had a little bit of difficulty, so we didn't get the first 15, 20 seconds. So we'll give you 30 seconds. Hopefully the little glitch is done. So go ahead, your response to what Mr. Martinez said.
I take offense to the fact that he's saying I have a conflict of interest, when in reality, I'm making an investment in our city. So when Mr. Martinez decides to buy a home and lay roots in the city, then perhaps he should respond and talk about conflicts of interest and remember the word respect when he approaches anyone in our city government. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Last question for this group, position on the Downey Police Department. Your thoughts on the Downey Police Department, and do you support defunding the police? Mr. Trujillo, we'll start with you.
Absolutely not. For the last 24 years, I have had the by far, the Downey Police Department is one of the exemplary organizations that I've had the honor to work with. I've ridden with the men and women of Downey PD, the good men and women who are putting their lives on the line every night and every day for the safety of our communities, my family and yours. I've looked at the budget. Downey is already being proactive about finding ways to respond to certain calls that don't require a uniformed police officer. We're using technology to find better ways of patrolling and keeping our residents safe. Instead of defunding Downey PD, we should be defending them and recognizing them for the top-notch department they are, along with our fire department, who recently has had to take on the call of EMTs and respond to those who are facing life and health situations. But when it comes to our men and women in PD, they should be paid just as much as myself with a law degree, because they do the dangerous job of protecting us. The Downey Police Department is efficient, and let's face it, you get what you pay for. Our men and women have met very rigorous selection process. It is very difficult to be hired by Downey PD. If somebody was to say that they're expensive, my response is they're worth it. My family's worth it. This community is worth it. So absolutely not. I do not support defunding the top-notch service of the Downey Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Uva, same question to you.
I absolutely support our Downey Police Department and do not wish to defund them in any way. Being a lifelong resident of Downey, growing up in the city, we have it so special to have our own private police force. Our response times are so quick as compared to other surrounding cities with the sheriff responding to calls. We are so lucky to have our own private police force. Our residents and our police officers are top-notch. We've hired top-notch individuals who really do an excellent job of serving and protecting our community. I would not support any sort of defunding. I would like to see perhaps a little bit more of allocating of moving some funds around from county or federal levels to have some more help with the police officers and dealing with calls on the homelessness. We need perhaps some more social workers assigned to the police department who can take those calls to relieve the police department from taking those calls so that they can attend to other matters within our city. That would be the only restriction that I would make on that. But I wholeheartedly appreciate our Downey Police Department and everything they do for our community.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, the response to that?
It would be 100% against defunding. We have a great city. The police brings us the safety, and the firemen bring us the medical attention that we need. Those are the resources, and we need to protect them the same way that they protect us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Martinez, same question, your thoughts on the Downey Police and the question of whether to defund or not.
So I want to make a distinction between me and the other candidates. I'm actually disappointed in our Downey Police Department. If you are someone who attends the gangs out of Downey, or if you are someone that is engaged in a lot of the programs in churches, you probably hold the police department at a very high standard and probably place them on a pedestal. But if you're an average citizen who doesn't get to participate in those areas, and you've been someone who's been stopped or someone who's been questioned, you know that police have the same issues that we see in every other area of the country. I myself have a video online where I show up and I ask the police officers here in Downey, particularly I will reference to Officer Miller, who, when he approached me, not only did I ask him to identify himself as part of his policy, he refused. He refused to identify himself. His partner had his camera off, and mind you, he had no intention of turning that camera on during this entire procedure until I brought it to his attention. So for a department that's taking 40%, which is nearly half of our entire budget, to see officers that are not following guidelines, not adhering to policy. I am very discouraged, and I feel bad. I feel bad because I myself have been an armed security guard, granted not at the same level as an officer, but I know what it's like to work in dangerous areas like Crenshaw, Gardena, Pacoima, San Pedro. I've been a loss prevention agent that has had to put hands on people, which led to arrest. So I'm not naive about the dangers or the hard work that our police officers do, but from speaking to people on the ground, like the tenants union, the Downey resistance group, I am not also naive to the problems facing every police department in our country, including the problems and issues that are on video, for the record, here in Downey.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Your time is up. All right, now we're going to go to some couple of questions here to the different candidates of the different districts. And what I'll do also, if I'll look at the screen here, and if there's some appropriate questions in this part of the program or the forum, I'll throw them in here. District 1 candidates, we'll go back to you. Alexandria Contreras, the question for you is, what programs do you plan to utilize or create on the local level to support your platforms fighting air pollution and increasing recycling?
Yes, so what I would like to use is our Measure S funds, which is for city improvement. And I would also let basically, if you have ever walked through the city of Downey, you would realize that it's full of ADA violations. If you're a parent in a stroller or you're disabled, you're not able to move through the city. We have already set aside funds for that exact purpose to make sure that our parks, our neighborhoods, our city is accessible. But we haven't spent the money doing that. So what I would like to do is redirect those funds to making sure that there's sidewalks in neighborhoods, that there's accessibility to shops, business areas, parks, and make sure that we have protected bike lanes, because cars are far more dangerous than the people themselves on the bike. I know, I bike all across Downey and our children are at risk. Downey is home to 7 of the most dangerous intersections in the entire state of California. And it has been like that since I was a kid, but nothing has changed and nothing will unless there's a political will for it, which I promise I will bring to the city council.
And this question comes from someone who's watching to you, Ms. Contreras. Please elaborate on what you mean by a happy city. I think you made that comment in your opening statement.
Yes, so I'm running on a platform of building a happy city. And building a happy city means that we have an inclusive one where the Downey residents feel listened to, and not just listened to, they know that their concerns will be acted on. The main reason why I decided to run for city council was because I was sick and tired of being ignored and pushed aside by our current council. I was there from the very beginning, fighting to make sure that residents stayed in their homes. I was there during COVID to make sure that we acted faster. And I almost didn't show up for that because I felt so discouraged with the current reception of our current city council that I nearly didn't advocate for that. But I know that when people speak and people show up, big things happen. And if it wasn't for the support of a community behind me who also believe in that together we can build a happy, inclusive city, I wouldn't be here right now. So thank you to all of everyone who has shown their support here in the city of Downey for me and my platform.
Okay, thank you. This question for Mayor Pacheco. As an attorney, you have helped landlords evict tenants. How do you reconcile that against community members who are asking now for renter protection? You have to unmute yourself.
As an attorney, I represented mom and pop landlords. I also represented tenants on occasion as well. I would represent those mom and pop landlords who had difficult tenants. And now these mom and pop landlords were at risk of losing their homes because they couldn't pay their mortgage payments. So that for me is about helping the people. So be it a mom and pop landlord or be it a tenant, I represented both.
All right, so you don't see a conflict whatsoever?
No.
Okay, thank you. District 3, Ms. Alvarez, the question for you is your activism for renters' rights is well documented. What other issues in the city do you plan to address and help fix, or do you consider yourself a one-issue candidate?
I wanted to work on the renters, on the mom and pop. I want to work for the housing, for the homeless, for the mental health. That's what I'm here for, to listen to my constituents, to listen to my community. What are their issues? Downey is great, and it's rich, and it's good. But also we have poor people, working families. We need to be inclusive for all diverse community. That is what is Downey. We have 80% of worker families in this city. That's what it is. That's what I'm going to be working on.
So when people say that your main priority is to help the renters and no other platform or program, is that an accurate statement?
No, I'm going to be working with everybody, because together we make the change. Together we work together.
And on other issues as well.
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you very much. To Mr. Peavy, the question is, if elected, you are going from an unknown basically to a city leader. Do you feel that you are familiar enough with Downey residents and you know enough about the issues in order to lead effectively?
Thank you. I appreciate you for giving me this opportunity. Yes, as I've mentioned earlier, I've been in Downey for 24 years, all of my life, and I've attended all the schools here in Downey. So I believe I know enough about Downey. And things that I don't know, I will go out into the communities and engage with the citizens and voice their concerns and make sure to the best of my ability to get them done.
Okay, so you don't consider yourself someone who really is too inexperienced to be able to jump in here and become a leader?
Definitely not.
Okay. Question to Eric Pierce. Eric, everyone's known you're a longtime editor of the Downey Patriot, which covers city affairs. That's what you did. You were a fixture at City Hall. If elected, would your role be considered a conflict of interest, or do you plan on stepping down as an editor of the paper?
So I don't think it would be a conflict. I've been at the Downey Patriot for 18 years, and each of those 18 years, I've worked really hard to increase transparency at City Hall. I've worked to keep politicians accountable, including our city council. And I think that's something that I would be able to do on a greater level. I understand the concern, and the great thing is that the Downey Patriot is not a one-man show. We have a team. And we also have other newspapers in neighboring cities. So that's a role that can always be adjusted. And that's the conversation that we can have if I'm elected.
Okay, there's a question from someone who's watching. I think it's appropriate to ask it now. The question comes from a man by the name of Brian Heyman. I think it's a tough enough question. I think it's only fair that we find out you know who asked the question. It's for you. How do you respond to the charges that you are a carpetbagger, in parentheses, by moving back to Downey just to run for council? True or false?
Well, for one, it's not true. Because if I wanted to move back to Downey just to run for city council, I would have rented an apartment. I wouldn't have purchased a home. The truth is I lived in Downey in an apartment, in a small one-bedroom apartment, for almost 10 years over by Stonewood Center. And my wife and I, we saved enough money. We got a down payment. And this was about 4 years ago. And we bought the very first house that we could, which happened to be in Whittier. And we were there for about a year and a half. We got just enough, we built our equity. And the first chance we had to come back to Downey, we came back to Downey. So the statement is not true. And I'm a homeowner here in Downey, and I'm proud to be a homeowner here in Downey, and I've been here for quite a while. So no, that statement's not true.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. District 5, we'll go to a question for Mr. Gonzalez. The question is, how serious are you about this campaign? There is not a definitive source on what you would like to accomplish as a member of the Downey City Council. Is that an unfair statement to make? And I guess the obvious question is are you in this to win?
Well, first of all, I would like to repeat again, when I ran in 2016 against the incumbent, I did it on my dime. I did not ask for a single dollar from anyone. I did that then, I'll do it again. The one thing that I was able to accomplish was to go out there and get 3,998 votes. From that, I'm counting on 15 to 1,800 as my grassroots. And these are the people that I listen to and that I would be, basically, it's about maintaining what we have already to preserve our police, our firemen, but yet there's room for improvement left and right, from the budget to some of the ways that things are being done. So we need more transparency. So the one very important thing, of course, it has to do with that new committee that I would be implementing.
Okay, thank you.
Try to bring to the table for the others to follow.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Martinez, the question to you, as you've been an outspoken critic of city council and city staff, I mean, I don't think that's a secret, you wouldn't disagree with that. If elected, do you feel that you'd be able to work effectively and efficiently alongside those people that you've called out?
So yes, number one is the interest of the people. We do what we have to do to serve our community, and I will sit down with anyone that I have to further the interest of the people and only the people. So
No grudges, no access to grind?
No, we are all professionals. Everyone can here have a conversation that is up to standard, and we can get work across effectively, and I will work with anyone. And hopefully I am working with a new body, but again, it doesn't matter who sits on those chairs. I will push the agenda of the people.
And based on what you said about the police department, do you think that you can mend the fences on that?
When it comes to the police department, again, I have been a security guard, an armed guard, a loss prevention agent, so I am not naive. I understand the great work and efficiency that they do for our city. But as someone who has been on the ground and has seen discrimination, abuse, lack of regard for policy, we had to balance that out. We had to be able to respect and dignify our officers, but we also had to have the ability to call them out when they are falling short of our standards.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Trujillo, the question for you comes, having owned a restaurant on Downey Avenue, it says that it was cited multiple times for noise complaints. How would you use your voice on city council to advocate for the business owners on Downey Avenue while maintaining the rights for residents? First of all, is it true that your place of business has been cited numerous times, and how do you justify that?
Yeah, so yes, we were cited numerous times for a noise complaint from one resident. The issue was dealt with, and absolutely, it did get a little too loud. And we plan on rebranding and opening up as Ola. And I hope the Downey community will support our family-owned small business. And residents should know that I am disqualified from decisions that the council will make regarding the downtown Downey. It will be in the hands of my colleagues on the council to do what's best for the interests of the small business owners, so that we can continue to create the jobs that are necessary, especially as we wind down from the pandemic. So I hope the residents will be rest assured that I will not be making any decisions as part of the council for the downtown, as I am prohibited to do so from the city charter.
Would that also include any kind of discussions or any type of ideas that you may have for downtown Downey? Does that include that?
I believe I am open to, and I can give my opinion, but most of the time I will have to abstain from any and all discussions to preserve and to respect the conflict of interest that clearly lies in this situation.
Okay, thank you, sir.
May I comment on that briefly?
Tell you what, hold on. We'll give you a chance to do that a little later on. I won't forget about it. You can say that in your closing remarks if you want as well. But in fairness, we'll get back to you on that. Okay, I promise we'll get back to you on that question. Ms. Uva, according to your website, one of the visions of Downey you hold is to stimulate the economy. During your tenure as the president of the Downey Chamber of Commerce, the country shut down due to COVID-19. What did you do as chamber president to support small businesses?
Am I unmuted? Yes. We as a chamber made ourselves available to business owners to help them promote their businesses. We allowed them to do email blasts, and most of the time we didn't charge them for the use of the email blast service. We provided masks to many different businesses. We were able to get a hold of some masks through, I believe, through some county officials, and we provided necessary masks to businesses that needed them. And the chamber office was open the entire time. There was always at least one person in the chamber office manning calls and responding to emails and trying to help the business owners as much as we could.
Okay. There's some random questions here. Mr. Martinez, you wanted to make a quick statement about what Mr. Trujillo said about the fact he wouldn't be able to weigh in on issues regarding downtown Downey. I'll give you 30 seconds, sir. Go ahead and respond what you want to say.
Yeah, real quick, just to elaborate, noise complaints were one of them. Another was not meeting ADA standards by placing an elevator on the second floor, which led to incidents where people who were drinkers were met with unfortunate incidents. Mm-hmm. And really what Downey deserves is a council member that's not beholden or has conflict of interest and that can serve every area, which is, by the way, the 5th district serves every area. We cannot have a council member that cannot serve the 3rd district, mainly the downtown area, because he is beholden to the businesses and his own personal interests there.
Okay, there is a, Mr. Trujillo, you want to make a quick response to that? I'll give you 30 seconds. I think it's fair to do that. Go ahead.
Yes. First and foremost, council members are entitled to own property in Downey. And I find it interesting that the man who decides to show up to the residences of council members with a bullhorn will have the audacity to bring up noise complaints. Thank you very much.
Okay, well that, Mr. Martinez, don't worry.
I didn't bring up noise complaints. I brought up ADA issues.
Well, it brings, there's a question here from a Mr. John Zander, and it kind of fits in right now. It says, for those of you who have protested at the events and homes of others, which I assume you've done that, the question is, should a member of the council act that way? Your response to that?
So what Downey needs is someone that's going to stand up against water privatization, which council members advocated here for and even violated policy to go and to the extent to do so. What Downey needs is people who are going to fight against sexism and misogyny, which our current assistant manager, John Askew, is still employed and is getting over $300,000 of pay to be there sitting down when he clearly should not be representing us. So you need an advocate, an activist, and a representative that's going to fight for the best interest of our community. And if we got to use the First Amendment, a First Amendment protected activity, which is the most American thing you can do, then of course, by the way, all those protests, all those actions that are in the interest and for the protection of our community are peaceful and have been abiding to the First Amendment, which is, again, once again, the most American thing you can do.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned the city manager. That's one of the questions I have in front of me here. And what I'll do, I'll give everybody a chance to respond to this. If you can try to keep it to 30, 45 seconds, I'd appreciate it. The question is your opinion of the city manager and the job that he is doing. I'll look at my screen. I'll start with Ms. Contreras on that.
My opinion of the city manager is that if someone has been credibly accused of harassment or sexual assault that has also been captured on video, they should be held accountable for those actions. It's unacceptable that the city of Downey at this day of age in 2020 allow people to sit in any level of government, in any level of position or authority to continue to sit in those seats. What I think about is how many young people, how many women, how many people of color have been brigaded by other individuals of power, and then they see our current city council basically upholding the double standard. So no, I don't think anyone who's been accused of sexual harassment or assault should be sitting and serving the city of Downey.
Okay, Mayor Pacheco, I'll ask you that question, your opinion of the city manager, the job he's doing.
So we are referring to our city manager, which is Gilbert Livas. Our city manager has done an amazing job, especially during this year, an unprecedented year in which we were dealing with COVID. We had many communications throughout the week, from Sunday through Sunday, trying to help our residents to ensure that we had the resources provided, from food distributions to helping our local food bank. So I think he's done an amazing job.
Okay, I'll just go down the line here now. I'll try to, Eric Pierce, your response to that question, the opinion of the city manager and the job he's doing.
I think our city manager has done a tremendous job, and I think that Downey is lucky to have him.
All right, Ms. Uva, same question to you.
I agree. I think the same thing. I think Mr. Levis has done an incredible job. Having served on 2 commissions for the city, the Measure S Commission and the Public Works Commission, I get to see what the city manager and his city staff do for our city, and they really have the hearts and minds of our city, and everything that they do is all for the benefit of our citizens.
Okay, Mr. Peavy, your thoughts, your comments on that?
Well, I don't know too much about the city manager, but I have heard different things about him. So I choose not to make a comment because I don't want to, I just choose not to make a comment because I don't know much about him.
Okay, that's an honest answer. Mr. Gonzalez, your thoughts on the city manager?
My comment in regard to him, as well as any one of us and other city officials, would be to remember one thing. Some of you are attorneys. The person is innocent until proven guilty in the court. Once that has been identified and through court, that would be the outcome of that. But then again, meanwhile, I hear that we want to, when speaking, we want to justify all of the good that the person is doing and maybe something bad that has been reported. Again, let us wait and see what happens in the court. That's
Okay.
the way that I would view that.
Okay, Miss Alvarez, your thoughts on the city manager?
Yes, he needs to be held accountable. There is a video evidence and it's clear. Anyone who displays such a sexist behavior should not represent us. He shouldn't be sitting there.
All right, thank you. And I think Mr. Trujillo, I think you're the last one to weigh in on this. Your thoughts on the city manager, sir?
Yes, I've met Mr. Gilbert Livas on a couple of occasions. He comes across as genuine. I know for a fact he's a family man and seems to be a man of integrity. He was hired 10 years ago, and just a point of information, most city managers only last about 2 to 3 years. So I think the fact that he's given us 10 years of service is a testament to his dedication to our city. And let's commend him for putting Downey on the map in this region. We are the city that other cities look to, and I think he has a lot to do with that.
Okay, Mr. Martinez, you said your thoughts earlier. I'll give you 10 seconds to add anything else you wanted to add.
Actually, my thoughts were on the assistant city manager, not the city manager itself. So can I get my full time?
I stand corrected. Go ahead. Give 30 seconds. Go.
So obviously, Gilbert Livas has done a terrible job with the pandemic. That is why we're one of the most impacted areas in the LA County. He's done little to nothing to hold John Askewy, his assistant manager employee, accountable. Literally, he's actually advised the current council members to do nothing about it. And that's mainly because he has an interest in privatizing the water of the LA County, including the city of Downey. So when it comes to Gilbert Livas will only work for the people that give him money. And we don't need people like that. We don't need people that empower sexism and bigotry and misogyny. And we don't need people that stand by and say nothing when our First Amendment is being attacked, when our time is being reduced, when council members are acting and violating policy to further their own personal campaigns. That is not the manager that we need. We need real leadership and accountability.
Okay, thank you. I think the chamber wanted to wrap this up around 8 o'clock. There's some more questions and other questions here. What I'll do is we'll sort of have like a quick lightning round robin type of thing here. Let me get this note. You're all going to get a chance to do closing statements. You're going to have 1 minute for your closing statements. But let's do this. Let's see if we can get 2 or 3 questions in, as long as your answers are within, under 30 seconds. So let's see if this will work. This comes from a question, and I'll kind of expand on this. This is from Ricardo Ortega, who says, lately I've been seeing a lot of condominium units being built around the city, and he'd like to know where you stand on limiting new condominium buildings. That always seems to be a big issue in the city about overbuilding, too many, what have you. Your thoughts in general. Is Downey being overrun with too many condos, too many new buildings, too many new construction? And as a member of the council, how do you stand on that? 30 seconds or less? And we'll start with the mayor. Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. So this is an important topic for me. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. As I'm the chair of the League's Housing Committee, so I'm constantly discussing legislative bills that may impact our city. So we're always fighting Sacramento to make sure that any legislative bills that are passed won't have an impact on our city. So that way we do not overbuild. That way we have a way to, we can decide as a community where we want that housing and where it makes the least impact on our residents.
Okay, Ms. Contreras, your thoughts on that?
Cities grow. That's what happens. People are born here, people are moved here. We have a lot of jobs that are coming to the city. And when that happens, we must make sure that we accommodate smartly for growth. What my plan to do is basically, in a sense, build a happy city by making sure that housing is built around transit. So that way people get out of their cars. They're able to get to work without basically polluting our environment, and making sure that the homes that we build here in Downey are safe and accessible, and most importantly, affordable to everyone who wants to live, work, play in Downey and call it home.
Okay, Ms. Uva, same thing.
Downey, like all cities, is required by Sacramento, our governor, to increase the number of housing in the city. I believe that in the last 5 years, we've added about 385 housing units. And that's all we've added in the last 5 years. Downey is land poor, so where do we come up with building, housing in our city? We would have to rezone certain areas to accommodate for the building of more housing developments.
Okay, Mr. Trujillo.
First and foremost, we have to preserve our neighborhoods. Our neighborhoods like the Northeast Estates, the Orange Estates, the Cherokee Estate. But we also have to remember that as we turn to and look toward the future, we want to be a city where people can work, live, and dine and shop. I believe that the future for Downey should be focused on transit-oriented developments. With an opportunity to get one or two additional stops of transit in the city, we must look towards the village idea of building these condominium complexes to provide more housing with a goal-oriented transit location. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Pierce, your response to that question?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is we need more housing. We're under pressure from the state of California to build housing. And so building condos and townhomes makes sense. The unfortunate truth is, the days of single family ranch homes is basically a new single family ranch homes is basically a bygone era. We have to start building condos. And I think as long as we do them responsibly, I think it can be done.
Okay, Mr. Peavy.
I think I don't see a problem with building. I actually think that it's a pretty good idea. There's nothing wrong with building if you want to build. But I think that we should balance it out, not to build too much, because we can add something else important for the community. But I think building is pretty good because housing is always going to be an issue, and we need housing each and every day. We need more housing, and we want to invest in our future of living. So I think building is very good for the community.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez.
Well, having condos is a good way of having pride of ownership at a lower rate compared to a single family residence. So it's a very good thing to have. That's about it.
All right, Mr. Martinez.
Yes, I think that any building, first of all, we need to make sure that every area of housing is affordable and that it's being occupied and used, not empty. And second, any shift that we take in the future towards building should be able to accommodate veterans and people who need to have affordable housing. So with that said, that's in the direction that I would like to see the city shift, is to make sure that our veterans and people who put in the time and work here in Downey are cared for.
Okay, and Ms. Alvarez.
Yeah, it's a knowledge that has not been enough housing has been built for the last 30 years or so. So now that we are here, we need to focus on affordable housing development, not only on market rate development. Rent control is the smartest thing and business solution, and is the most humane action to take. It will work hard to represent our renters, our elderly, and our veterans.
Okay, thank you. What I'd like to do now, you're each going to get 90 seconds for your closing statements. I was given the order in which they're going to do it, so I have nothing to do with the order in which you can speak. Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have you finish this sentence in 15 seconds or less, and then we'll introduce each of you to give your closing statement, okay? So the question, you finish the thought by this. I belong on the Downey City Council because, Mr. Martinez?
Because I am a corporate free candidate. I'm not beholden to real estate. I'm not beholden to the Chamber of Commerce. I'm only beholden to the people.
Ms. Alvarez, I belong to the Downey City Council because? Have to unmute yourself.
I belong to the city council because I'm here for the community and I'm not a politician. I'm here to help my constituents, my elderly, my veterans, and my renters, and all my pops and dads.
All right, Mr. Gonzalez, I belong to the City Council because?
First of all, I have the passion and I'd like to lead my community to a better tomorrow.
All right, Mr. Peavy, I belong on the City Council because?
I belong on the City Council because I want to invest in our future and in the communities in multiple ways.
All right, Mr. Pierce, I belong on the City Council because?
Because I love my community and I believe I'm the most qualified candidate amongst my opponents.
Ms. Contreras, I belong on the City Council because?
I belong on the city council because Downey needs change. And the city of Downey needs to serve all people from all backgrounds, no matter where you're from. And I know that I can be that person to serve you.
All right, Ms. Uva, I belong on the City Council because?
Because I am truly committed to our city and will work hard to serve the residents with honesty and integrity.
And Mr. Trujillo, I belong on the City Council because?
Because I love Downey, because this is where I raised my family. I'm going to retire and probably die here. I am prepared and I know how to listen and I know how to serve. And I have the best interest of my family and my community, my city at heart.
Ms. Mary, you are on the council, so I guess I better phrase it. I should remain on the City Council because?
I should remain because I love my city. I am engaged, I am involved, I listen to the residents, and I have been a long time owner of my property and a long time resident here in our city.
Okay, all right, now we're gonna go to the closing arguments. First of all, thank you all very, very much. You really have abided by the 90-second rule, if you will, and you've all been very good about that, so I congratulate you on that. I hope the viewers at home appreciate that as well. Closing statements now. This will be 90 seconds, each one of you, and this is the order that you will, this was given to me, this is the order you will speak. These are candidates in District 1. Ms. Alexandria Contreras, you have 90 seconds for your closing statement.
I grew up in the city of Downey as a member of a working class family with immigrant roots. My story is not unique, and I watched the opportunities that my family moved here for slip away for so many people like myself. I want to serve you, the city of Downey, because I recognize that things need to change, and they can change, and they will change when we elect the leaders that truly represent us. And I believe that I can be that person.
Thank you very much. Mayor.
Actually, can I be quick pause? There is someone, with all due respect, Arturo Gonzalez, you're unmuted and I'm hearing a lot of feedback.
Were you done or you need more time?
I wanted to finish closing my statement. It's just that there's
I'm sorry you were done. I heard that as well. I didn't know where that was coming from. Go ahead. We'll put 45 seconds back on the clock for you, so go ahead.
Thank you. I know I am not afraid to speak up when I see things that are wrong. I have an established record of doing that. I've been out here in the community volunteering with the Downey Food Helps. I've been out here in the community using my platform to educate voters and empower people like yourself who are listening today to know what real leadership looks like. And I hope that I'd earn your vote and vote early. Don't forget to vote early by November 3rd for Alexandria Contreras for City Council. So together we can build a happy city.
All right, thank you very much. Mayor Pacheco, you have 90 seconds from the 1st District.
Thank you. Under my leadership and while serving on council, we balanced our budget during the past 4 years. I was involved and engaged with our Downey residents, making sure our neighborhoods were safe and that our residents had the resources that were essential to them, that our streets were properly maintained and our potholes were filled, and that our Measure S funds were being utilized for what the voters were promised. Remodeling of our fire stations, Downey Library, Downey Theater, street improvements, and beautification of our local parks. I have been endorsed by my entire council and by our DUSD school board. I have also worked on the state level as I was recently installed as a president of the League of California Los Angeles division, becoming the first elected official from the Downey area to serve in this capacity. I have the heart, I have the passion, I have the experience and the knowledge to continue serving our great and amazing city. So this November, I respectfully request that you vote for me, Blanca Pacheco, for Downey City Council District 1.
Okay, thank you. Now we go to candidates in District 3. We'll start with Catherine Alvarez. You have a minute and a half in your closing statements, ma'am.
I'm going to say something in Spanish and then I'm going to say it in English as well. Yo soy candidata del Distrito 3. Ustedes saben que yo estoy aquí para la comunidad, tanto como latina, negra y también para café. Tu color café también importa, porque también hablamos español y también hablamos inglés y muchos más idiomas. Así que por favor voten por mí porque ya saben quién es la persona que va a trabajar por ustedes, la persona que está siempre mirando por la necesidad de ustedes, no con mentiras, no con política. I am not a rich politician, not a friend of one. I am working mother and activist for our most vulnerable members of Downey. I will work honestly and hard to represent those members in our community that don't have a voice in our city council. Change is possible together. Vote for me in District 3. You know who you have to vote for. I'm Catherine Alvarez and I'm here to serve you, to hear you, to listen to you, and to make difference in our city.
All right, thank you. Another candidate from District 3, Mr. Peavy, floor is yours.
As I've mentioned, I lived in Downey, District 3 for 24 years, and I'm a product of Downey, and I've attended all of Downey schools. I'm running for city council because I want to invest in our future and build small businesses and attract wages, jobs, and also find a solution for the homeless community because I feel like that's getting left behind. And I think that change happens one step at a time. Congressman John Lewis, the great John Lewis, he just passed away. And he was one of my inspirations that inspired me to do something. If you don't like what you see, stand up and do something about it. And I believe if I'm elected city council of District 3, I believe if I'm elected city council of District 3, I will stand up and do something about it. And tonight I'm asking for your vote, Delwan PV for District 3. And also I want to thank the Downey Patriot and the Chambers for hosting this amazing event. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. And another candidate from District 3, Mr. Eric Pierce. Eric, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is a very difficult time in our country right now. We can't fix what's happening in Washington, D.C. or Sacramento, but we can control what happens here in Downey. Now more than ever, we need to elect people who will make decisions in the best interest of our entire community. We need council members who are familiar with Downey's unique issues and are capable of leading us into the future. With your vote, we can keep Downey a special community where people aspire to live and where companies want to do business. Rick Rodriguez has a saying. He says, "I wasn't born in Downey, but I got here as fast as I could." I feel the same way. Please vote for me on November 3rd. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. District 5 candidates now. We'll start with Mr. Arturo Gonzalez.
Thank you very much. Again, this year, 2020, I have decided again to run on my dime, and yet because I know that some of the residents want improvement. They want to also maintain what we already have, our way of life, together, we can maintain and also we can improve. Improve by implementing other committees so that they can give us feedback. It is not for them to have any control. It is just for them to go and see, review, not just in the future, but we need to go back in time, whether it's a year, 2 years, 4 years, and we need to see whether some of the things have been done unethically, or have there been a blind eye? Have things been placed under the carpet, swept away? We'll get to the bottom of that within the next 30 days. We may shed some light to some of these things in the days to come. There will be no single sign of me out there on anybody's lawn. I went to Hawaii. I saw the way that they go out there and campaign. In order to maintain decency and cleanliness, there are no signage. Vote for me, Art Gonzalez. To the people who voted for me, 3,998, I ask you, tell 5, if not 7 of your friends, tell them, try to convince them, let them know what we stand for, because together we can win. Art Gonzalez.
Thank you, sir. 5th District candidate, Mr. Mario Trujillo.
Downey is a safe, clean city with inviting parks, malls, restaurants, great neighborhoods, tree-lined streets, our own police and fire department, and good schools. It's a great place to raise a family. People still want to live here. Downey is a diverse community where character counts, and in Downey, respect matters. We're also a very proud community. These are our values. These are my values. I'm proud to call Downey my home for the last 30 years. I raised my family here. My kids all went to Downey schools. And as your council member, these will be my priorities. Number 1, always keeping our families, your family, my family safe and healthy. Number 2, economic recovery for residents and small businesses. Number 3, enhanced city services. And number 4, no more taxes. This pandemic is not over, and the damages are yet to be counted. But I submit to you, Downey, that we have great challenges ahead of us. But from challenges can come great opportunities to make us stronger than we are today. I will fight for a stronger Downey. And with your help, I will make the next 4 years in our history the best. Please vote for me, Mario Trujillo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another candidate from the 5th District, Mr. Juan Martinez. Floor is yours.
I have lived over a decade here in Downey. I started a platform that serves over 900 members. I am an activist who is not afraid to call out and show up to do the work for the people on the ground. What Downey needs is someone that understands public safety, but isn't blindly biased about it. So we do respect our police officers, but we have the knowledge and the consistency to understand where there's issues. Downey needs a candidate that's not gonna be beholden to personal interest, to the businesses and the big real estate, and that obviously is not gonna have conflicts of interest when it comes to serving downtown, like one of my opponents, and therefore it's gonna have to completely abandon and neglect that area. You need someone that understands students, that understands workers, that understands homeowners, and that has a key interest and a focus in the biological and scientific aspects of what we're dealing with in regards to the COVID-19 issue and the pandemic. So what we need is a candidate that's gonna do that, and I am the best candidate to do that. I would love to tell you that Downey is perfect. Downey is beautiful, and it is a great place, and we need to continue to improve it. But I will not lie to my constituents and say that there aren't issues that we need to deal with. The person that can be honest with you and tell you how it is the one that has the best interest for you. And I am that candidate, a corporate-free candidate that will only serve the will of the people.
Thank you, sir. And the last statement comes from Carrie Uva. Ms. Uva?
I am the only candidate that has lived and worked in Downey her whole life. I am the only candidate that is endorsed by 4 out of 5 current city council members. I am the only candidate that's endorsed by all 7 school board members. My campaign fundraising funds have come mostly from Downey residents, my clients, friends, neighbors, and Downey business owners who believe in me and know that I am the right choice for District 5. I pledge not to take any money from marijuana lobbyists, and I hope that other opponents will do the same. I do not have any hidden agendas, nor do I have any business interests in the city. I'm just a hardworking person who really cares about the needs and concerns of our residents and our business owners. I am truly committed to our city and will work hard to serve you with honesty and integrity and make sound business decisions for our city. On November 3rd, please vote for me, Carrie Uva, for Downey City Council, District 5. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And again, once again, thank all of you and all of you who are watching at home on your computer or live streaming or however you're watching. Just a little over 2 hours. I think it was very informative. I congratulate all the candidates and good luck to all of you and to all of you who are watching out there. Thank you for this opportunity. It was my pleasure to be here. And don't forget to vote. Good night and God bless.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Downey.
Okay.
Thank you and good night, everyone.